Hello everyone, here we are going to discuss the question of object oriented programming in BTech AKU. The question is how void pointers are different from general pointers. Answer: a void pointer is a pointer that has no associated data type with it. A void pointer can hold address of any type and can be typecasted to any other data type. इसे हम एक एग्जांपल से समझते हैं। जैसे यहाँ पे दो वेरिएबल है a एंड b। a एक इंटीजर डेटा टाइप है और b एक कैरेक्टर डेटा टाइप है। एंड यहाँ पे एक पॉइंटर है जो वॉइड टाइप का है। एंड यहाँ पे हम देखते हैं कि ये जो पॉइंटर p है वो इस लाइन में a का एड्रेस स्टोर किया हुआ है एंड सेकेंड लाइन में b का एड्रेस स्टोर किया हुआ है। तो इससे हम ये जान सकते हैं कि वॉइड पॉइंटर किसी भी डेटा टाइप का एड्रेस स्टोर कर सकता है। वाइल इन द केस ऑफ a general pointer is a variable whose value is the address of another variable. Like any variable or constant, it must be declared as a pointer before we can work with it. A general form of a pointer variable declaration is डेटा टाइप एस्टेरिक वेरिएबल नेम। इसे हम एक एग्जांपल से समझते हैं। जैसे कि यहाँ पे IP एक पॉइंटर है जो कि इंट डेटा टाइप का है। तो इसका मतलब ये है कि IP हमेशा इंटीजर डेटा टाइप वाले वैल्यू का एड्रेस स्टोर करेगा। सेकेंड केस में यहाँ पे डबल स्टार DP, इसका मतलब DP एक ऐसा पॉइंटर है जो कि हमेशा डबल वैल्यू के एड्रेस का स्टोर करेगा। एंड थर्ड केस में फ्लोट स्टार FP, इसका मतलब ये है कि FP हमेशा फ्लोट वाले वैल्यू का एड्रेस स्टोर करेगा। एंड सेम इज हियर फॉर द कैर CH। सेकेंड क्वेश्चन, इज इट पॉसिबल टू एक्सेस डेटा विदाउट एनी मेंबर फंक्शन इन द क्लास? जस्टिफाई योर रीजन। Yes, it is possible to access data without any member function in the class, provided data member should not be private. Because in the case of private access modifier, any data values cannot be transferred from one function to another function. And we can do this such that a data member can be easily accessed by creating object of that class. It means that if we have to access any data from the another class, first we have to create the object of that class and then we can access that data, provided the data member should not be private. How precedence of operator affects evaluation of expression. Operator precedence determine the grouping of terms in an expression. The associativity of an operator is a property that determines how operators of the same precedence are grouped in the absence of parenthesis. This affects how an expression is evaluated. Certain operators have higher precedence than other. For example, the multiplication operator has higher precedence than the addition operator. Let us suppose an example here. X is equals to 7 plus 32 into 2. Here X is assigned 13, not 20, because star operator has higher precedence than plus, so it first gets multiplied with 3 into 2 and then adds into 7. Therefore, the final value gets 13. Here, operators with the higher precedence appear at the top of the table. Those whose with the lowest appear at the bottom. Within an expression, higher precedence operators will be evaluated first, as we saw in the example above. The next question is, write the advantage of object-oriented programming over procedural programming. It is a very important question. The advantage of object-oriented programming over procedural programming are: in object-oriented programming, data is given more importance rather than the procedures, while in the case of procedure-oriented programming, procedures are given more important. The second point is, in object-oriented programming, data is secured by access modifier, which is private, public, protected. while in the case of procedural oriented programming, data are not secure. Example of object oriented programmings are Java, C++. An example of procedural object oriented programming are Fortran and Pascal. Next question is why we generally avoid GoTo in the programming. First, we will see the definition of GoTo. The GoTo statement in C++ is an unconditional jump statement used for transferring the control of a program. It allows the program execution flow to jump to a specified location within the function. And we generally avoid GoTo in the programming because it makes difficult to trace the control flow of a program, making the program hard to understand and hard to modify. Any program that uses a GoTo can be rewritten to avoid them. The next question is, what is the role of try block in the exception handling? Try block is used to enclose the code that might throw an exception. It must be used within the method. If an exception occurs at the particular statement of try block, the rest of the block code will not execute. It means that if we have certain probability that in a specific code there is a chance of error, then we can use exception handling there. And therefore in the case of exception handling, if we have to handle the exceptions, we have to use try block so that the control flow of control gets in control of us. The next question is, write the difference between class and structure. Difference between a class and the structures are: a class is a user defined blueprint or a prototype from which objects are created. Basically, a class combines the data members and member functions into a single unit. The second point of class is the data member of a class can be protected with the help of access modifier, and the access modifiers are private, public and protected. While in the case of a structure is a collection of variables of different data types into a single unit. The second point of a structure is data member of a structure are not protected as like a class. Next question is, what is the use of scope resolution operator? Let me tell you that scope resolution operator look like when we use two colons together. The use of scope resolution operator are to access a global variable when there is a local variable with the same name. The second is to define a function outside a class. Next question is, why we require a derived data type in the programming when we already have different data type? We know that we have different primitive data types which are stand-alone variables, but it is not sufficient enough to handle real-world problems. It is often required to group logically related data items together, which may be the collection of same primitive data types with or homogeneous data type or heterogeneous data type. The next question is, write a small question which illustrates the concept of multi-level inheritance. We know multi-level inheritance are the type of inheritance in which one class inherits the property of two or more another class. Here we can see that class A is declared, class B is declared, and in the class C we have just inherited the property of class A and class B. We can see it here clearly. And in every class we have declared a constructor and the value and one global variable. Here in the main function we just created the object of class C, and here we can see that we have printed the value of A, B and C, and we can clearly see that the value of C was declared in class C, but the value of B and C were declared in class B and class A. Therefore, we can say that the characteristics and properties are inherited from class A and class B to the class C. The next question is, which is a program where it asks, on a certain day the British pound was equivalent to 1.487 US dollar, the French franc was $0.172, and the German Dutch mark was $0.584, and the Japanese yen was $0.00955. We have to write a C++ program that allows the user to enter an amount in dollars and then display the value converted to the 4 other monetary units. It is just a simple program of conversion where we just first included the header file here and created a main function in which the variable name DOL for dollar, BP for British pound, FF for French franc, and GD for German Dutch mark, and JY for Japanese yen. First we inputted the value amount in dollars, and then we just converted all the value to the respective country monetary units as were provided in the questions. Like in British pound it was given 1.487 per dollar and similar to all other monetary units, and then directly we printed all the values of the monetary units. We can see it here clearly. The next question is, what are command line arguments? Write a program in C++ to finding factorial for a given number using command line argument. Command line arguments are the arguments which are written along with the function name in the prototype of that function. It is used in passing the value while invoking the function. We can clearly understand that command line argument is a formal parameter. As we can see it here that int n is used as a command line argument. So here the program was finding a factorial of a given number. To find a factorial, first we have to understand what is a factorial of a number. A factorial of a number is the product of all the natural numbers less than that number. Let us take an example. So that the factorial of a 5 is 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5. Okay. So for finding factorial of a number, we have to use a loop. So I used a loop here in which I is equals to 1 till I less than equals to n, and I have just multiplied all the numbers with f and stored it in itself, and it will terminate after the value of I is greater than n, and after the completion termination of the loop it will print a factorial of a number. The next question is, what is the principal reason for passing argument by reference? Write a function called 0 smaller that is passed two int arguments by reference and then sets the smaller of the two number to 0. Write main program to execute this function. So first of all, understand what is passing argument by reference. Passing argument by reference, it means that we are not passing the values of that variable. We are just passing the reference of that variable. Reference of that variable means the address of that variable. And therefore, principal reason for passing argument by reference is that while passing argument by reference, we can change the value of that argument. It means we can change the original value of that argument which is passed during the invocation. While if we pass only the argument if we don't pass the reference of that argument, the original value won't get changed, and therefore to change the original value we just pass the argument by its reference. Okay, and the question was uh, like this, a zero smaller, in which we have to change the smaller number with 0, and we have to write a main function for it. So here in the program we included all the header files which will be used in the program, and here in the function 0 is smaller, since the question is asking to pass argument by its reference, and the reference of a argument can also be called as a pointer of that argument. So here we wrote accepted in 2 pointers through arguments in the function 0 smaller, and then according to question we wrote if else, in which we have to convert a smaller number to 0, and then in the main function in which we inputted the values of two variables n1 and n2, and then passed the address of both the variable in the function 0 smaller, since the function 0 smaller is accepting the address through the pointer variable. We can see it here clearly. And then we displayed the values of both the variable n1 and n2, and here we can see that there is changes in the value of n1 and n2 after passing through the function 0 smaller, since we are not passing the values, we are passing the address of that value, so there are changes in the original values. The next question is, write a C++ program to replace all the word dogs with the cat in the sentence. So in the program we included all the header files which will be used in the program, and then in the main functions, since we have to do operation on the sentence, so first we inputted the sentence with the help of the function getLine sen str in the variable str, and then we first displayed the original sentence, and then we will make changes in the sentence in which we have to replace the word dog with the cat. And then to perform this task we used a for loop in which the value of I will start from 0, the value of j will start from 0, and it will repeat until it reaches to the length of the string, since the str.size function returns the length of the string or a sentence. And then we will extract every 3 adjacent characters of the string, and we will compare it with the word dog, and if the condition get matches, it will be replaced with the word cat. With the help of this for loop, in which we will be replacing every adjacent characters of the word dog with cat, with the help of this for loop, and then we will display the new text after the modification, in which there will be no dog word present in that. Instead of that, the cat word will be present there. The next question is, compare and contrast dynamic memory allocation using the C++ operators new and delete with dynamic memory allocation using the C standard library functions malloc and free. Here it is the point to be noticed that the new and delete is the C++ operator, while malloc and free are the functions, and therefore the first difference can be new and delete operator always calls the constructor and destructor automatically whenever the object is created, while in the case of malloc and free it is the functions, and hence do not call the constructor or destructor. The next difference is new operator returns pointer of the relevant type, while malloc return pointer of the void type, which is a void pointer. The next difference is new and delete operator create and delete the object respectively, since it calls constructor and destructor automatically, while in the case of malloc and free functions, it allocates and deallocates the memory space. The next question is write a program to evaluate the following function to 0.0001% accuracy, in which the series is sum equals to 1 plus 1 by 2 to the whole per power 2 plus 1 by 3 whole per power 3 and 1 by 4 whole per power 4, and it goes on to infinity. It is not infinity, it is up to 0.0001% accuracy, and due to this the program becomes a little bit harder. So we have included all the header files which will be used in the program, that is studio.h, conio.h and math.h for the power function. And then in the main function we considered the term equals to 1.0 and denominator equals to 2.0, and I is the unity which is 1.0 for numerator. And then for performing sum operation we took a variable sum equals to 1.0, and then in the while loop we wrote term greater than equals to 0.001, since it is asking up to the accuracy of 0.001%, and then term is equals to 1 by 2 d, which is a natural series. You can see it here clearly. It in the series it is 1 plus 1 by 2 and such to the power 2 and such on. And then we calculated the term is equals to pow term comma d. Pow is a math function in which the term will get the power of d, and then the next step sum will be added to the term, and then d plus plus, since the denominator is increasing every time by 1. First time it is 1, then 2, then 3 and then 4, and then goes on. Therefore when the loop will terminate, the sum will get accuracy up to 0.001%, and then we will display. The next question is create a class rectangle. The class has attributes length and width as a global variable, each of which default to 1. So here we have to use a constructor, and then it has a member function that calculates the perimeter and area of the rectangle. It has set and get function for both length and width. The set function should verify that length and width are each floating point number larger than 0.0 and less than 20.0. And here in the program we included the header file iostream.h, and we can notice that in the latest version of C++, instead of writing standard input and output, we can write using namespace.std. And then in the class rectangle we declared the variable length and width as length and width in the access modifier public, and here we declared length and width with the data type float, since the question is if further we have to check whether the length and width is in floating point number or not. So in starting only we have declared both the variable float, and then we created a constructor named rectangle to give a default value 1.0 to both the variable length and width. And then according to question we wrote get function to display the values of both length and width. And then in the set function, according to question, it is asking whether the length and width is floating point number, and whether it is between 0.0 and 20.0. So we have to take the help of if else if statement, and according to it I have written the if else if statement. You can see it here clearly. Okay, and then the next function void calculate, we calculated the area and perimeter of the rectangle using the mathematical formula, and then displayed both area and perimeter. And then in the main function we created an object of rectangle r1, and then we took input of length and width, and called one by one all the functions which we wrote above. And since we don't have to call the constructor, so we have not called the constructor here. And according to the code, the program will compile, and during run it will take input of length and width, and then it will calculate and display the values of all length, width, and area and The next question is, assume that there is a class derv that is derived from a base class base. Write the deaccelerator or a derived class constructor that takes one argument and passes this argument along to the constructor in the base class. It is a very confusing question. So read the question carefully and write accordingly. So here first we included the header files and wrote using namespace.std for standard input and output in the latest version of C++ as I told earlier. And then I created a base class in which I wrote a constructor base with a parameterized constructor base with argument a inside it. And then in the class derived we inherited the properties of base according to question, and then created a constructor of the class derived. And according to question we created a destructor which is also called decelerator, and we took a value int a as argument. And since the question is asking to pass this argument along to the constructor in the base class, so first we created we accepted the object of the class base in the destructor, and then created a new object and passed the value a inside that. The next question is, what is operator overloading? Write a program in C++ to overload unary minus operator. So it is similar to the function overloading, and we can say that a function overloading is the process in which we write two or more functions with the same function name. Therefore, according to question, operator overloading is the ability to provide the operator with a special meaning for a data type, and this ability is known as operator overloading. For example, we can overload an operator plus in a class like string so that we can concatenate two strings by just using plus operator. We know that plus operator is used in adding two numbers, in the addition of two numbers, but we have overloaded the operator plus so that it can concatenate the two different strings. Example, if we concatenate dog plus cat, it will combine and will give an output dog cat. Okay, overloaded operators are functions with special names. The keyword operator followed by the symbol for the operator being defined. Like any other function, an overloaded operator has a return type and a parameter list. Let us understand it with an example which is given in the question. To write a program in C++ to overload unary minus operator. So here in the program we included the header files and used namespace std and wrote a class distance in which the global variable feet and inches are written in a private access modifier, and in the public access modifier we declared a constructor named distance int f with parameterized constructor distance with argument f and I. and then we give the values f and I to the global variable feet and inches, and in the next function display we displayed the values of both feet and inches, and then we did a operator overloading here, since according to according to its syntax, operator overloading can be done through writing the class name, which is distance, and then writing the keyword operator, and then the operator which we will be overloading, and then parenthesis. Inside the function we will give the different meaning of that operator. Here we will give the meaning feet to minus feet, inches to minus inches, and then we will return distance feet comma inches. Since the return type of the function is the type of distance, so here we will return the values of type distance only. Okay, so don't be confused here. Then in the main function we created an object of distance, class distance, and passed the values 3, 4 and -1, 10, since there is a parameterized constructor in the class distance, so we have to pass the values, and then we called the operator overloaded the function d1 and d2 through its object, and displayed both the value, and therefore we can see that the output will be displayed as -3, -4, and in the second case there will be 1, -10. And therefore in this way we overloaded the unary minus operator. The next question is, a friend function cannot be used to overload the assignment operator. Explain why. A friend function cannot be used to overload the assignment operator. So here are the reason. Let us understand it. We can overload the assignment operator just as we can other operator, and it can be used to create an object just like the copy constructor. But when programmer is overloading assignment operator using friend function, two equal operation will exist. First, compiler is providing assignment operator. Second, programmer is providing overloading equals to operator by friend function. Then simply ambiguity will be created and compiler will give an error, since the compiler will get confused whether which equal operator will be used in the overloading, and hence there will be a compilation error, and therefore we cannot overload the assignment operator using a friend function. To keep supporting, please like, share and subscribe my channel. Thank you.